Hello everyone and welcome back to a best of 5 series of professional StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Protoss versus Terran, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on Hardwire. Now spawning here in the bottom left hand corner, playing with the blue Protoss probes, we have the man who is on absolute fire right now, and his name is Zest. Zest so far in 2022 is looking ridiculous. I guess he's been practicing hard for the World Championships. Again, it's coming up in just a couple of weeks. Honestly, if he keeps improving at the rate that he is right now, if he keeps playing the way that he is right now, I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to be one of the favorites going into the event. But I'll talk about that a little bit more in just a second. Let us talk about his opponent as well, because playing here with the Red Terran SCVs, and apparently joined right there by Samwise on the main command center. Likewise also from South Korea, we have none other than ByuN. ByuN, of course, always one of the players who's ridiculously good. As of me making this video on Medivac, he's considered to be the rank 12 in the world. That being said, most of those highly ranked scores for him come from the smaller online tournaments. ByuN, in general, didn't really have that great of a 2021, and he isn't actually qualified for the World Championships this time around. Now, of course, in the past, ByuN was considered to be the world champ. I was there at BlizzCon when he ended up winning some phenomenal Reaper micro in those final games. Still get excited just thinking about it. But yeah, ByuN definitely, of course, despite the fact that he's not currently qualified for the World Championships, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he will be once again next year. He participates in a ton of online tournaments, and while he did win a couple of them throughout last year, yeah, he didn't really have any crazy results in 2021. So we'll keep an eye out on 2022, see if that's going to go any better for him. Now let's talk a little bit about Zest. So, spoiler alert, for the GSL Super Tournament, Mr. Zest ended up winning the entire event. So, his results were actually pretty crazy. So, first off, he 3-2'd Classic, 3-2'd Bunny, and then for the semifinals and the grand finals, he 3-1'd Maru and won against Dark in the grand finals 4-3. Pretty insane. I would love to cast some of those games for you, but sadly, as you probably know, the GSL does not actually release any replays, so I simply can't. But yeah, there's no denying that Zest is looking ridiculously good right now. And as of me making this video, he is currently considered to be the rank 6 in the world. Now, for a while, and I mean for like the majority of last year, it felt like, there really wasn't, according to Medivac, a Protoss player in the top 10. But Zest has been consistently winning so far this year. He's looking ridiculously good. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's going to be in the top 3. Like, if he keeps playing the way he is right now, I don't know, man. It's been a while since we've heard anything about his mandatory military service. He's been on his, like, quote-unquote final tournament for, I don't know, about a year or two right now. I'm not exactly sure how that's going. So I hope he can keep playing as well going forward. But yeah, just know that Zest is currently on fire. Anyways, he's going to go for that Stargate opener right here. Standard opener right here as well from Mr. ByuN. He'll be pumping out a couple of Marines here at once. He's scouting around with the Reaper man. Hasn't... oh, actually, no, he did pop up into the main base. I was going to say he didn't actually go in that direction because, well, the Gateway and the Cybercore are blocking that little jump-up pad. But apparently he did get a little bit of vision right there of the Stargate, so he knows what he should probably be preparing for. All right. Marines, Widow Mines. Should be plenty here to deal with all of that. It's one of those things, though, that yeah, you have to stay home for, right? If you're ByuN right now, you can't really go across the map and get aggressive, because obviously then the Oracle will absolutely murder everything. It's one of those things where everyone knows this shouldn't really deal a lot of damage, but Oracles are still going to be useful later on into the game as well. Okay, I don't know why these aren't burrowed. That should be one dead Widow Mine. Oh. He was seeking refuge right there close to the other Widow Mine. A Mule gets target fired down as well. And honestly, this is a little bit sloppy. Like, he had a perfect scout of this. And yeah, for some reason, the Widow Mines weren't burrowed. I think if he would have burrowed one right over there and then, you know, had the Marines split up or on the ramp or another Widow Mine. Like, he had all of the tools right there to deal with this. Now, all of a sudden, the Medivac is also not going to be as useful. It is going to be a Phoenix right now as a follow-up too, so... Are we going to go for an empty Medivac drop, Mr. ByuN? Quote-unquote drop. I know that this is a thing that ByuN likes to do in this matchup. Literally just send out an empty Medivac just to, like, you know, scare the opponent a little bit. Force them to split up and all that. Force them to stay at home for a little while too. The problem is that Zest has followed up those Oracles. Yeah, look at this. I guess it's mostly just a scout, right? Anyways, he's followed it up right here with a couple of Phoenixes too. Losing a Medivac for free, really not what you want. So it looks like the Medivac is going to be going back home. ByuN didn't actually spot the third base yet, even though he does have vision of it. It's an assumption, though, that you can make right now that indeed that one has already been taken. Alright, so a little bit of early game damage here by the Protoss player. Nothing you can't come back from, though, but definitely doesn't show the best of starts so far here for ByuN. Yeah, as you can see, well, of course, as soon as I show you that. Oh, there's one Widow Mine in the middle of the map, gotcha. As soon as I show you that, or maybe two Widow Mines even, the first unit right there for our Protoss player ends up going down. But so far, good start right here for Protoss. As you probably know, I'm a big fan of the Phoenix openers. They, generally speaking, always tend to do quite well if you micro them correctly. It's one of those build orders that really rewards active play. So if you're paying very close attention to them and you can do all of the multitasking while also microing those units, yeah, they can be extremely valuable. The problem arises, though, obviously, or the problem arises when you are busy microing those units and then you don't actually macro at home. So generally speaking, as a follow-up right now, Terran's going to be going for a push. Probably right around the same time as, well, all of these upgrades are going to finish up, right? The classical timing attack with +1 infantry weapons, Stimpak, combat shield, the whole shebang. It might not even be like a game-ending push. It's just one of those moments where Terrans, yeah, just hit a huge power spike and they want to move out across the map. Protoss can delay those pushes a lot, and that's really where these units, yeah, they really shine. They can force maybe even a complete turnaround from the Terran player if they decide to get into the mineral line, or maybe they can lift up like a siege tank or two, or just pick up a few of the reinforcements. You just buy yourself a lot of time for all of your own upgrades to finish up here as well. Alright. I don't think you want to go for a fourth base just yet, my man. No, I think that's just a little pylon right there to make sure that, yeah, he doesn't run into any problems. Alright, so here's that move out from ByuN. This is at the perfect time. It's before the upgrades are done, so by the time he gets across the map, it should be finished. Stasis ward! Ooh! Big stasis ward. That's a perfect way, of course, of delaying this as well. Yeah, now all of a sudden, I mean, this is going to make that hold significantly easier. Like, basically every single time a full stasis ward like that goes off and his entire army gets delayed, that's an extra set of units that the Protoss player can warp in, right? So, he's finished charge at this point. He's got a decent amount of gateways as well. I mean, this always scares me a bit, though, right? Because if you actually look at these armies, the Terran army is significantly better. It's just that Protoss keeps reinforcing. Shield batteries, of course, are also pretty good. Yeah. Looks like Protoss may have just decided to go home altogether. Gateway coming up. Or sorry, Terran has decided to go home altogether. Gateway coming up on the right side of the map. And the third command center, indeed, is just gonna fly on over. I think if ByuN probably wouldn't have been caught right there by the stasis ward, he would have continued pushing for a little while longer. However, it wasn't meant to be. Alright. So, we've got ourselves a nice little macro game right here in game number 1. Robo Bay coming up here as well for Zest. Second Robo Facility 2, so he's going to be making that transition towards Colossi. Or, of course, Disruptors if he really wants to. But I think Colossi are a pretty good idea. Especially against this Marine-based opener. Not that, you know, Terran really has a lot of openers that, you know, don't involve Marines, but fair enough. Alright. So ByuN has been getting a lot of units into the mix. He knows that this is the transition as well that Protoss, of course, makes usually. So Zest just, yeah, spend a lot of his money on getting a bunch of infrastructure going. Apparently the Zealots here going in for a counterattack. Yeah, hoping that the Terran army is going to turn around. Okay, good set of force fields. Very nice anti-armor missile as well, though, with that Raven. Okay, Prism actually gets picked off as well. Good target firing right there by ByuN. That being said, the force field's still looking pretty healthy. Most of the Terran units, though, still fire constantly here. Ooh, the charge is also wasted right there on those Zealots. Zealots, though, from the other side of the map decide to clash on top of this army, too. And I think there might just be, yeah, despite the fact that there's no Colossi out just yet, that just gets started up, there might just be a little too much Protoss. And Zest just barely wins that battle. Can't really go for the aggressive counterattack right now, though, because he did... Well, I guess he's got the warp in right over here, yeah. But he did lose the Prism. And he probably wants to wait until those Colossi are done, as well as the extended thermal lens. So a little bit of counterattack damage over here. Do you recall these? Yeah. Eh. That's like 600 minerals down the drain. Not ideal. Not ideal. Not ideal. Alright. So, are we gonna go fourth base? I guess that makes the most sense. And I'm assuming we're gonna still see a push as well in just a little bit. So, Blink is just about to finish here. Colossi at this point are out. Can definitely go for a nice little bit of aggression. Phoenix is still being an absolute nuisance, by the way. Just picking up whatever they can. Creating quite a bit of value right here for that Protoss army. You can see so far Terran has lost a little bit more. They've also had slightly less economy this game. Ghosts are coming up as well, though. I like those a lot, especially against the Archons, of course. They're phenomenal. Zealots once again. Trying to be annoying on the other side of the map. The Widow Mines, though. Yeah, they're burrowed everywhere. Trying to see if they can get some good detonations in. Reinforcing Terran units should be able to take care of those Zealots, and they will. Yeah, I think we're setting ourselves up for a nice series, right? I mean, this is just the first game. Both players just testing the waters. Now, that was some very good control right here from our Protoss player. Trying to lift up as many of those Widow Mines as possible. As soon as those units are out of the army, the Terran, yeah, just has to back off. He finds the gateway right now on the right side of the map as well. And there's the big Stalker follow-up. Prism? Hello, Prism. A little bit too far forward, maybe, but not enough firepower in this. Oh my god, this Protoss, or the Terran army rather, just yet. Okay, eventually it does fly forward once again, but I am seeing so many dead Terran units. That being said, most of the Marauders seem to still be alive. There's no Immortals here in the mix for Protoss, but he does have a lot of Stalkers. Yeah, Zest at this point smelling blood. He's got the 4th base up and running, so he doesn't really need to go for a fight, but he does have a scary amount of units. 2 Colossi still available. And obviously plenty of gateways to continuously warp in. No battery overcharges right here for ByuN, who apparently forgot to macro here for a little bit, judging by the fact that he's got 5 mules drop. Either that or he was saving up for maybe like a Dark Templar transition, which is of course something we see all of the time. Alright. Ooh, Protoss trying to set up a concave. Yeah, he's trying to invite Terran into this section of the map so he can come in from every angle. ByuN, though, knows what he could be walking himself into. One of the big problems right here for ByuN is that he never started up 2-2. Either he felt like he couldn't afford it, or he felt like he could win before he needed those upgrades. Yeah, now 2-2 starts up. It could also be a mistake. Anyways, at this point, what I'm trying to get at is that he's falling very far behind as far as those army units go because of their strength just simply being weaker than just the pure Zealot ball here. Well, I mean, the pure Zealot ball fighting that army, it seemed. The rest of the Protoss army busy picking off as many SCVs as possible. 27 of those bad boys have gone down. He could just even pop the command center itself right now if he wants to. And I've got a feeling that we are soon going to be going to game number 2. And that game will be played on Berlingrad. Now, by the way, I haven't given you an update in a little while on the Big Game Weekly, the ESO Open Cups, right? So people started calling them the Big Game Weekly about, I don't know, a year or two ago, just because Mr. Hero Marine was winning the vast majority of them. So there's 3 being played. There's one in the Asian region, there's one in the North American region, and then one in the European region as well. But that really only dictates the server that the games are being played on. So if you are from Korea, for example, you can definitely play in the North American edition of that tournament. It's just that the ping is going to be, you know, a little bit of a disaster, but it happens all the time. Here's the thing, right? So for a while, Hero Marine was winning all of them. Clem was doing very well as well. Clem has now won 33 as of me making this video. Hero Marine has won 40, so definitely quite a bit ahead of Mr. Clem. However, Zest has now won 43. So Zest, he's known to participate in basically everything. He plays in all the big tournaments, small tournaments, weekly tournaments. He doesn't really care, but he plays in a ton of these little events. And yeah, he's now won 43 ESL Open Cups, which I think is like, I think it's $250 currently at a time. Which definitely does add up. If you gotta get your practice in anyway for the day, right? You may as well play the dozen or so games that it takes to, you know, win one of these tournaments. And tournament matches instead, it's good practice. You play against good players, of course, especially in the later rounds. Anyways. What do we have right here on Berlingrad? Well, we've got ByuN going for a double gas opener here while simultaneously planting his first barracks on the other side of the map. Zest right now not scouting all too far. Alright, but he does see the SCV mining out the 5 minerals. Zest just making sure there's not a second barracks on the back of it as well. So at the very least right now he's got a good understanding of what he's going up against. He didn't bother blocking like the little jump up pad over there. He didn't block the front base or the front of the natural base either. Which is something that we've seen MaxBex do in pretty much all of his Protoss versus Terrans, which is kind of interesting. Anyways, here's the Reaper. Going in nice and early. Stalker, though, being chrono boosted out, I mean. Yeah. Okay. Not even one probe, really? Yeah, the problem when you target fire down the probes that are going back and forth into the gas geyser is that for some time they disappear in that gas geyser, right? Alright. Zest in the meantime, planting down a pylon on the other side of the map. ByuN did go for his own command center. A little bit later, of course, than the Protoss here. So, Protoss will have the economical advantage. I don't really like this opener too much right here from Terran, right? That barely did anything. Of course, ByuN has phenomenal Reaper micro, don't get me wrong, but if you can't get a worker out of this at all, I feel like you need at least like 2 in order to really justify this start. Anyways, more gateways coming up here for Zest. One of them on the other side of the map. One of them inside of the main base, so we're going to be going triple gate here in total. How much damage can he do with this sort of thing, right? So normally we see a Twilight Council at this point, or a Robo facility, or, you know, a Stargate, or any of those sorts of things. Especially against a Reaper opener like this, you would imagine that ByuN gets into the main base and scouts out roughly... Ooh, what's going on? Hold up. Lag? Wardy, it's okay. Me, yes. I think it drops now. Just BattleNet lag. I love this. Wardy is from England. He knows how to speak perfect English, but usually the Koreans obviously they know decent English for most of them. But it's pretty funny to see that Wardy is adjusting his own English as well. I think it dropped now, or it drops now. Just BattleNet lag. I love that. Makes it a bit easier for the Koreans to understand it, even though I don't think it really matters, but that's how most of them speak English, so I guess you automatically adjust. Anyways, I know that Wardy actually speaks a little bit of Korean himself as well. I did try to learn some Korean myself too. I know the Korean alphabet is not that hard. You know, the basic words and stuff are not that hard either. Most of the pronunciations are doable. It's just that it's like... You know, I can speak Dutch, I can speak English, I can speak a little bit of German and French, but Korean is extremely different. It's not even remotely close. The alphabet is easy, okay? You can probably learn that in like an hour, maybe 2. But yeah. Anyways, Widowmine drop right here coming up. A little bit adventurous right there with the probes. Probes were thinking about fighting it all together. Yeah, you know what? This might actually be quite successful. Reason for that is because there's, in the meantime, on the other side of the map, a whole lot of Stalkers. 4 probes in total, by the way, definitely not that great. Zest was busy, yeah, just warping in units and sending towards the mineral lines of the Terran. The good old 3-gate, man! It's an old school build. Grenades right there being thrown at the Reapers themselves. Here's additional Stalkers, just simply walking across. Yeah, it is an old school build. This is what we used to see back in Wings of Liberty. Alright. Looks like the Widow Mines eventually, by the way, were taken care of as well. That's quite important, obviously. That could have been an absolute disaster. But the Medivac really get picked off. Alright. Both players apparently very busy looking at one screen at once. Incredible multitasking. Maybe not ideal, but that is once again a very good situation right here for Zest. He was leading like, what, 14 workers or so? Almost doubling the worker count here from ByuN. Now, obviously, the mules are still pretty good. So if you look right here at the income in the top left-hand corner, you can judge it as well with the little arrows here at the bottom. You can sort of decide who the economical advantage is for. Anyways, currently, things are looking pretty good right here for Zest. That being said, this Terran army is still scary. So it's 26 army supply versus 16 army supply right here for ByuN. ByuN looking around for that gateway. And he finds it. He knew that those units were getting into his base a little bit too early. It was being reinforced quite quickly as well. That siege tank, though, saving the day, right? ByuN thinking about going for a move out right now. Well, I guess it's a decent time, yeah. Twilight Council is so late here that it makes a lot of sense to go for a move out right here, right now. There are a couple of good siege tank positions on this map. Okay, one Marauder there gets picked off. This is some wonderful movement once again by Zest. picking up a whole load of reinforcing units. The only problem is, yeah, he doesn't have a force field energy available right now because he just ended up using that hallucination. I think he would have loved to push back that army for a little while longer. Battery, battery, battery. Gets target fired down as well. There is another battery on the back of this. Stalkers coming in as well from the back of this army. And I think, yep, this should be held relatively well. Especially when Blink finishes up. I mean, that's a lot of Stalkers. 11 Stalkers have gone down so far in this game. Only 7 of them remain. Combat shield also done for, but since the siege tanks are gone, I don't think you can really push forward. Yeah, this did give the Terran player a little bit of time, though, to once again get a decent eco up. Starts up the NG bay right here, too. Goes into the concussive shells upgrade. One siege tank getting a nice hit in. Blink. Blink. No? No blink. Okay. Alright. Pure Stalker can be good. But it can also backfire really hard. Yeah, it's especially good in, like, small armies, right? So if there's a relatively small army going up against a relatively small army, it's the Stalkers usually that can gain a lot of value because you have the potential to micro them all individually and negate some of that siege tank splash damage and all that. But as the armies grow, you really do want something else in the mix as well. So for now, apparently, that is going to be the Zealot. Zealots with charge, a couple of sentries maybe. Not a bad idea. But I wouldn't mind seeing like a robo facility going up in a little bit as well. Okay, there it is, yeah. An Immortal right now being chrono boosted out. Immortals deal very well with armored units in particular. So they deal bonus damage against armored, and it's extremely noticeable. They deal very well with Marauders, which are armored units for the Terran, but also siege tanks. Bunch of other units too, but for the time being, I mean, look at the production tab. It's siege tanks and Immortals. Stalkers will have a little bit of a harder time against that sort of army. A few Immortals in the mix, not a bad idea. Templar Archives also comes up as well as the third base. Pretty expensive investment. Zest knows that his opponent probably heard that little sound. That very high-pitched sound is a Observer sieging up. One of the most powerful units in this matchup. Jimmy over here gets a full scout in the main base. He's like, is there a Dark Shrine? Is there a Dark Shrine? There's no Dark Shrine as far as I could tell. Becomes a little scary, of course, when there's a few Dark Templar just moving into your base every time you move out here. Maybe a couple of charge slots as well. Alright. Yeah, despite the fact, though, that ByuN was very far behind earlier, he's been macroing well. He's decided to skip the third command center altogether. So this is essentially going to be a 2-base Terran all-in, but this is an army that packs a punch. +1 infantry weapons finishing up right now as well. Once again, good timing right there by the Terran. Zealots were thinking about going in for the counterattack. Okay, I think it makes sense to try and go in for the sandwich instead. Okay, a few Zealots leading the charge, taking a few of the siege tank shots. Is there enough right now for the Protoss player to break through all of this? I mean, the siege tanks are being picked off. Liberator got sniped as well, but there is way too much Terran. Nice moves right here for ByuN, and even though he was like, what, 15 workers behind his opponent or so? Yeah, nice moves right here from the Terran. I mean, the supply count right now doesn't lie, right? There's a lot more Terran armies on the back of this. There they come marching across. Okay, Immortal gets sniped as well. Obviously, this was a bit of a risk. ByuN putting his eggs in one basket and trying to see if he could obtain the victory by sticking around on 2 command centers. And if it's 2 CC versus 2 Nexi, obviously that's a good situation for the Terran player because, well, those command centers, indeed, they can fly. Alright. Does he have enough to push for the win right now, though? That's the real question. Overextension is really possible, but there's a little bit too much. GG. Alright. Game 3. 2 million 2K atmospheres. There you go. I'm about ready for a new map, okay? It's not that I don't like 2000 atmospheres. I think it's a very good one. It's just that we've seen so many games on it. It's starting to remind me a little bit of like a Light Shade, for example, right? So this map wasn't just around in the current season of StarCraft 2, but also the previous one, and you know, the previous one felt like it took forever. Let me see. 2K atmospheres, or 2,000 atmospheres. How many pro games have been played on this map since it came out at the professional level, right? Oh, I guess I said that. Anyways, yeah, 4,751 professional matches have been played on 2,000 atmospheres. And it's a good map. But it's been in the map pool since the 6th of April 2021. There's nothing really wrong with it. It's just that the game gets a little bit stale when you see the same map over and over and over again. There's good siege tank locations on this map, guys. I'm sure you're aware of those. I gotta say, though, I do love this pattern. We haven't really paid attention to the pattern on the ramps very much yet. But the fact how that, like, perfectly lines up and, you know, that's satisfying, right? I like that a lot, actually. Let's just look at the pattern. The pattern in the main base looks a little bit random, like the inner part of the main base. But at least on the ramps and, like, the decoration, it's not bad. Yeah, it's not bad. Apparently, according to a guy in Petit Drogo's Discord, this map at some point became less purple. And if I'm thinking really hard, I feel like I thought this map was more purple when it first came out. Right? Like, if you remember games from like half a year ago, wasn't this map more purple? I don't know. Maybe someone can go back into the archives on my YouTube channel and like compare two side-by-side shots. But I do feel like this map is less purple than it used to be. Supposedly they updated that at the beginning of the previous map pool change. Although, I've never seen side-by-side comparisons, but I believe the guy on the Discord chat. Yeah, I'm inclined to believe him. Anyways, a Reaper right here moving to the front. Double gas opener once again for ByuN, so he's opting to go for a bit of a faster factory. A little bit of a delayed command center. Both options, of course, perfectly viable. The only thing I don't like about this map is how blue is actually hard to spot. If you look at the mini-map right here, I mean, it's fine when he's in the brownish area, right? But every once in a while when I play games and I don't bother updating my colors. Right now, if you look at the minimap, this little Reaper moving around blue on blue. Kind of tricky, right? Red is far easier to spot. So on most maps, red versus blue is the most easy to read color. Or those are the most easy to read colors. However, on this map, yeah, no, okay. Well, I'm really nitpicking now. You can always, when you play a game of StarCraft, you can always switch to your alternate colors by hitting Alt plus F on the keyboard. Very helpful. Especially if you're playing in red yourself and your opponent is going for tactical nukes. Turns out, I can tell you this from personal experience, that looking for a red dot while you're playing red yourself, not ideal. Alt plus F, guys. Alt plus F. You're welcome. I'm gonna save one person games today. Anyways, a little bit of a skirmish right here in the early stage of the match. Yeah, forcing that Oracle to come back home. Yep. Oracle now looking at this army, thinking how pathetic and sad those Terran units are that they even thought about going across the map. Knowing very well it was going to be a one-way trip if the Oracle decided to go back home. That being said, Oracle right now, for the most part... I love this. You see ByuN making a beeline to the other side of the map with an empty Medivac? That's one way to defend an Oracle. It's like, oh god, I'm needed at home! I'm needed at home! Buying a bunch of time right here for the bunker. Anyways, I was gonna say that the Oracle wouldn't have energy to, like, deal damage inside of the mineral line of the Terran player. God, I love ByuN's empty Medivac boosts. For some reason, it's so funny to me, but you can see the gut instinct there from the opponent. It's like, ah, there's a Medivac coming out! Ah, gotta go home! That's all the time he really needs. ByuN's empty Medivac play. Proper next level. Alright. Speaking of proper next level, though, no Phoenixes this time around. We're going straight into a Twilight Council, but we're doing so after triple Oracle. Alright, there is a Widow Mine right over there. Careful, Mr. ByuN. Alright. Zest does lose one of his Oracles. Yeah, honestly, this is very manageable so far. Oracle? Yeah, will it get killed? I think it might get killed. Yep. Nice moves. Very nice moves right here by ByuN. Especially the empty Medivac. We've now seen it twice, right? In this series so far? I've never really seen other Terran players aggressively move around Medivacs like that, but I kind of dig it. Because as a Terran player, you'd know what's inside of it, obviously, but Protoss has no idea. They can't see what's inside of the Medivac. Could be 2 siege tanks for all they care. Although I guess at that point in the game, it was a little hard to pull that off. Anyways. Yeah. Decent start for ByuN, all things considered. His army is looking very strong. Unless you give away 2 units like that. Anyways. The problem is obviously that there's no 3rd command center here for the Terran player. And Protoss is already happily mining those juicy minerals over at the 6 o'clock base. Revelation right there as well with that Oracle reveals exactly what's going on. The most important thing to note right now for our Protoss player is that there's no 3rd command center, right? So, okay, yeah, pylon moving up onto the left side of the map. This is something we see all of the time on this map. 3 Widow Mines, by the way, in the main base. This is ByuN inviting his opponent to please blink in there. He does see the little potholes right there if he's paying very close attention. But that Oracle could be used right there for a jump up into the main base. And then every single one of the Stalkers would get absolutely decimated. Alright. Zest right there, not falling for the trick. Oh, Medivac! Medivac! Ay, that was 10 units, or 10 supply worth of units going down. Stasis Warden back. Alright. Yeah, I liked this game earlier for ByuN, but the last couple of minutes have definitely not been ideal. There's a Dark Shrine. First Dark Shrine of the series. Do like that. I do like that. Isn't it cool how, like, MaxSpecs is now considered to be one of the best Terran or Protoss players in the world? And if you compare the way that he plays, it's very different from Zest, right? I mean, obviously the broad strokes are all similar. But, yeah, Zest seems to be a lot more keen on using Stargate openers and obviously heavy Blink Stalker focus, whereas we see Mr. MaxiPax focus a lot more on Dark Shrine. And, yeah, just different kinds of units, different way of dealing damage. I think we're gonna need those Stalkers on the low ground. Okay. Robo facility will be killed. There's a couple of Zealots over here ready to detonate all of those Widow Mines. Good splits right there by Zest trying to detonate all of them in one fell swoop, and he manages to pull that off. Alright. Dark Shrine at this point is done. Oh, wait. Those are not Dark Templar. These guys don't have capes. They're not invisible. Alright, now there's also 4 Dark Templar as a follow-up. There you go. Cool guys wear capes. I'm sorry, Zealots. Like, Zealots have blades for hands, okay? It's incredibly inconvenient. How do you even do everyday tasks? Like, I know in the lore they can, like, you know, bring the what's it called? Like the side blades back into their wrists or whatever. Kind of like their Spider-Man or something. I don't know. Anyways, maybe like the X-Men, right? Anyways, yeah, in the multiplayer version of the game, I've never seen them do that. All I'm trying to say is that it seems highly impractical, okay? Man. Normally we see Protoss players moving in as soon as they have Dark Templars. This is like, you know what? I'm gonna warp in more units. And then I'm gonna warp in more units. Guess what I'm gonna do then? I'm gonna warp in more units. Are we gonna do more? Come on, really? This is still not enough? I guess Zest is like, you know what? I wanna bait him with a counterattack. If he comes to my side of the map, I'm gonna mess him up. I'm gonna deal so much damage. Alright. There's the Shadow Strike research coming up as well. Oh, alright. Oracle becoming very adventurous. And now finally the Terran army is moving. And that's apparently the moment at which Zest decides, now I want to move in. This is a huge army. Normally it's only a few of those Zealots being used. Obviously the main problem though, when you have this many units on the other side of the map, is that it's hard to defend at home. But I guess the force fields here are pretty good. No proper counter here, though, for the Liberators. Battery overcharge already being used. Zealots, apparently, well, they have just chased all of those SCVs towards the other side. Is there enough right now for the Terran player to bite their way through all of this? I'm not entirely convinced that there is. The Dark Templar right now, yeah, also come back home. Oh my god, yeah, you can see them. But if they blink behind your army, they can still do a lot of damage. Zest's decision-making sometimes is so ridiculous. I love it. GG. Alright. Match point right here for Zest. Game number 4 will take place on Pride of Altaris. I feel like I've been putting a lot of emphasis right here on our Protoss player so far in this series. Let us have a look at what the Terran player is up to. Someone pointed out in the YouTube comments section a couple of days ago saying, hey Lowko, I feel like you're casting games while you're paying attention like 80% of the time to one player in particular. And you, guy in the comments section, you are 100% correct. Yeah, I do tend to do that. The problem is, right, oftentimes you can look at these different openers, you can just sort of pay attention to the production tab while you're casting games and just know exactly what they're going for right now. So I'm expecting here from Zest, even though I haven't seen much, a 20 supply Cybercore and then a 20 supply Nexus on the low ground as well. It's just simply the go-to. I guess ideally you would like to have 50% of the time, you know, in this particular case on the Terran player, and then 50% of the camera time on the Protoss player as well. It's just that when you're solo casting, it's pretty much impossible to do so. It's very easy to get a little carried away and just pay attention to one thing. Just to, I don't know, fit your own narrative, I suppose. No, but it's very easy to, like, the problem is, right, generally speaking, if you're casting bigger events, if you're casting, like, large StarCraft tournaments, not only do you have a co-caster, so if, for example, you notice, hey, my co-caster has been talking about this thing for, like, the better part of 18 minutes right now, maybe we should start changing the subject, right? You have someone to, like, double-check whatever you're saying and to sort of fire back at whatever it is you've got going on. But secondly, and this is a big one, normally there is always someone, at the bigger events in particular, who's there ready to observe. So there's someone, basically the cameraman of the tournament, who, yeah, controls the camera and shows you what you should probably be talking about, which is very helpful. So in a way, it's like not just a two-man production team, or, well, there's a lot of people in the production room usually as well, but, like, you know, people that are quote-unquote on camera, right? It's not just two people that are talking about the game, but there's also someone observing the game. So every once in a while when I cast my own games, even though I would like to aim for 50-50 screen time, yeah, I do get a little carried away. 80-20 is probably not ideal. I probably get games as well where I cast like 90% of it from one player's perspective. But, you know what? It is what it is, guys. It is what it is. Gotta say, though, I actually really like solo casting. I don't know what my neighbors think. Because, you know, they just hear me talk to myself in a room all day, every day. They probably think I'm sad and pathetic. But, hey, it pays the bills, okay? Like, sorry, neighbors. No, it's totally fine. I believe I've brought this up as well in previous casts. But, apparently everyone in the neighborhood knows what I do for a living. And whenever I go to my, like, I say I walk to my car or whatever, and, like, there's kids playing outside, they know who I am, and apparently I am the cool guy in the neighborhood, okay? Because supposedly if you ask kids in 2022 what they want to be when they grow up, they all say they want to be a YouTuber. So in their eyes, I've made it. Apparently I'm the coolest kid on the block now. No, I never set out with that intention, but it is pretty funny. Every once in a while, like, the kids ask, hey, aren't you that YouTuber? I'm like, yes, it is I. One kid even said he watched my videos. This is like several months ago. And the strange part about that is that all my videos are in English, and obviously I live in the Netherlands, so I'm pressing X for doubt. Look, an empty Medivac drop! I love this from ByuN. Yeah, ByuN, he even, like, purposefully flew it by the watchtower just to show his opponent. Look at this, man. This is the most adventurous empty Medivac. It's so stupid, but it makes so much sense. Look, look, look. Protoss right now, warping units in defensively. Oh my god, is Zest like 700 IQ? Zest already moving out. He probably realized that the Medivac should have shown up already, and if it was gonna be a Medivac push, it should have been there. So if it's not showing up at the perfect time, it's probably an empty Medivac. The only problem right now for Terran is that, well, they don't have recall. There is this big ramp though on Pride of Alteris. Ah, yeah, not really taking control of that one. Alright. Yeah, you definitely want to sit here on the high ground. Obviously, you don't really know if Protoss is planning to go straight into the main base. God, I love the empty Medivac moves. So stupid, but it makes so much sense. Raven right now, moving out in the same direction as well of that Medivac previously. Look at this, man. It's the perfect scout. I love that Zest doesn't even give it any respect anymore. I would still at least be a little bit nervous. But he knows at this point that it's empty. Good interception right there. Yeah, it's easy to lower your guard then as well, right? Oh my god. I have never looked at this fountain. That's beautiful. Is there one on the other side? Oh my god, there is one on the other side of the map too. Alright, alright, alright. Not bad at all. I've actually never paid attention to this little nuke. Yeah, Pride of Alteris, bit of a strange map. Personally, I don't really like it. As you probably heard in my map review video from a couple of days ago. If you haven't seen that video, I'll go ahead and post a link to it down below. But you may be aware of the fact that I am not necessarily the biggest fan of the current map pool as far as like passive maps go, and this is definitely one of them. It's just so easy to defend on Pride of Alteris and some of the maps that we might be using in one of the upcoming map seasons. It's just so easy. Anyways, it's easy if you have the appropriate amount of units. At this point, Zest definitely doesn't have... Hello, Mr. Immortal. You are not needed over there, my man. Immortal man, you are really needed over here. Come over here, bro. What are you doing? Did the empty Medivac throw you off that much? Yeah, finally it comes on over here. But battery overcharge, it's gonna be run out. Nexus is gonna be dead by the time the Immortal arrives. Mistakes were made. That being said, Nexus is still alive for now. Immortal gets killed right away. Medivacs were targeted as well, or at least some flying units were. Yeah, okay. Still too much. I thought for a second ByuN was somehow some way not gonna get the Nexus there, and also was gonna get cleaned up, but no. Yeah, not sure what that was all about, Mr. Zest. This is why you want to use the All Army hotkey, okay? Diamond League players right now agreeing with me, clapping their hands together. I mean, look, if you use the All Army hotkey, all jokes aside, it wouldn't have been an issue. Right? Hey, there you go. All Army hotkey 1, Zest 0. GG. Anyways, that does bring us to Glittering Ashes, the final map in this Best of 5 series. Another map that promotes passivity. I guess that's my main issue with larger maps. Not so much that the maps have to be both passive and large, right? They don't... I think it's definitely possible to have a large map while also promoting active play. This map, I guess, a little bit more so than Pride of Alteris just because of the layout. For example, having like a flat ground right over here between the natural and not like a ramp leading down from here towards a low ground definitely does promote more active play. Anyways, Zest looking around the map, he knows very well that ByuN is known to go for a lot of proxy wrecks, and while we did have a proxy barracks on Berlingrad, apparently that's going to be the only one. Should be a command center here as a follow-up after the orbital command. Really? Aw, we could have had 5 minerals. 5 minerals wasted there, ByuN. I think we could have had those anyways. I like how the cleaning bot is propelled forward with a little propeller on its back. It's very high tech because it's literally levitating. But because of that, I guess it has the need of a propeller. This one's 86. It's got an 86 on its back. Can we find another one? Do they have different numbers? This one's also 86. This one's also 86. Why are they all 86? I wonder if there's a reason for it. Maybe it's made up, like you know, Heinz ketchup. Maybe it's got 86 parts. Maybe it's a DIY cleaning bot. You buy it at IKEA. You get 86 different components. You gotta put them together to, yourself. I don't know. Anyways, Twilight Council right here. A lot of very dangerous symbols around the map as well, by the way. Not really a very nice place. Yeah. Not good at all. Anyways, let's see. Zest poking once again with a stalker. ByuN accidentally fat fingering his hotkeys there. For a minute there, I thought it was intentional. For a second, I thought it was intentional that he purposely didn't want it. Like he didn't want to lose the SCV there. But he just accidentally misclicked. Alright, so this does mean now that a Hellion is out on the map. That one's probably going to be in charge of scouting the Protoss side of the map. The problem is, it is a Stalker into an Adept into another Stalker. And this time around, it is a low ground wall-off right here from Zest. So I don't really... Yeah, I don't think there's going to be that much... Oh, nice picking. I don't think there's going to be that much vision here that our Terran player will get. He sees that there's a warp gate research. Yeah, so now it becomes a little bit trickier, right? So ByuN positioning the Hellion here to try and see if there's any kind of oracles moving out. So if the oracle moves out, it will make a straight beeline towards the other side of the map. You can see the probe here as well, so it's very nice. It's a good position for the Hellion to hang out. So at least he sees the probe right now, but the problem is you never know if it's a fake. Yeah, Hellion is gonna check once again the high ground right now. He might accidentally be playing himself. He saw a probe, didn't see a base. Base apparently is going up on the left side of the map. So Zest trying to show that the opponent, you know, to the opponent that he's going for a third base. Then he decides to skip the third base taken on the other side, and ByuN scouts the follow-up of the lack of the third base. So ByuN might think right now that he's been tricked, but it turns out it's a double trick. Anyways, nothing a Widowmine drop can't take care of. Never mind. Ooh. Not ideal. Anyways, eventually that Widowmine will get picked off. One of them will be. Yeah, so ByuN might actually make a bit of a misread right now and think that this is a two-base play from Zest. I mean, everything he's scouted so far, though, from the Protoss player indicates that it is an Expo, but yeah, it can be a little bit weird if you see a probe moving on over down in that direction, and then all of a sudden there's no base, right? It's a little bit strange. Anyways, I think this Raven over here will confirm in just a second what's going on. Apparently, ByuN has decided to add on the additional barracks for the time being instead. And Bay going up as well. Just a more safe approach overall rather than rushing out the third command center. Where's it going? Oh, it's going all the way to the top right. So expensive! Yeah, way too ambitious. Oh, look at that. It actually hung out right there between whatever that is. Yeah, no, but that's very expensive. It's one of those units you really want to have in this position right over here. ByuN knew he was spotted and still decided to fly forward. Works well against weak opponents, but Zest, a little bit too good for that. Snipes the Raven for free, and that's a lot of money. 6 additional gateways coming up. 6? Really? We're gonna go 9 gateways in total. That's too much, okay? It needs to be 8 or 10. Not because of efficiency. Well, actually, also because of efficiency. But mostly because round numbers, okay? Some of you will understand my oh my god, my problem. Even though the one Stalker right there was tasked with killing the Medivac. Widowmine still got out. 6 probes have gone down. Okay, reinforcing Terran units will be killed once again, but ByuN is sieging up over at the third base of the Protoss player. Good couple force fields there, all things considered. Yeah, siege tanks right there killing some of those Marines. Okay, there's the Immortal. The Immortal's so important. Is there still another Guardian shield? I guess there's not. Doesn't even really need it, though. Yeah, he's just picking off the siege tanks one at a time. Wow, okay. That was way better there for the Protoss player than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, ByuN should have gone for the empty Medivac drop, dude. Empty Medivac drop. More effective than Widowmine drop, confirmed. Whew. Very aggressive way to go right there. They might have zealots for, or what is it called? Blades for hands right there, but it works out quite well. Oh no, that's the worst feeling. Third command center gets killed seconds before it would be finished. Could have flown it away if it was done. Instead, right now. Yeah, it's a couple additional barracks here coming up. But now we have 2 base. Yeah, 2 base Terran here. Hard stuck on 2 base. Going up against essentially full 3 base saturation here. Well, I mean, if he would have pulled out of the gas, apparently. He's decided to get some additional gases going here. He's got 9 gateways, though. Hello, sentries, sentries. Big zealot hits. Buy those widow mines. The problem is, though, yeah, that the economy right here of Protoss is just simply so much better. He can just continuously warp in reinforcements here, and despite the fact that the trades may not be incredibly efficient, does it even really matter? There's a Liberator now joining the fray as well. These SCVs are so juicy. He doesn't even need to fight right now. Like, Zest could literally just back up. Warp in more reinforcements. Just wait. 14 workers just now? It's a very good trade for your units. Alright. So those mules are essentially the most important mules that ByuN has got in this series so far. He needs to win this game or he's out. At the same time, Zest looking pretty happy here. Not really adding on any probes though. Okay, instead he decides to transfer ones or some right here, despite the fact that the main base still has all 8 mineral patches intact for now. A couple of days ago, we saw Nice going up to literally 100 workers on this map. That was cool. Apparently Zest not feeling that adventurous here. Decides to stick around on only a handful. Hitting a supply block right now too. The problem is, right, he knows that Terran at this point is up with their backs against the wall. That observer over there just spotted these Medivacs. Oh my god, if he can find these? Ooh, he's looking for them. Yeah, he found them. He found them. I was gonna say, if he can pick those off for free, that would be absolutely massive. Still, though, that is a huge chunk of units going down. Nice retargeting there with the Widow Mine onto the Prism. Anyways, Zest knows at this point that there's a good chance Terran's just gonna go for a full-on all-in. At this point, the third base will be spotted. So at least he's got a decent understanding of it. Oh, actually, he did spot the third CC building there, too. The problem is, if you spend too much money on making workers of your own, you might accidentally get overwhelmed. So I think Zest is actually going to try and bring it home here in a second. He is building his 4th Nexus on the back of this, just in case. That's a lot of Zealots, though. Zealots to the natural, rest of the army to the high ground? Or are we just going to put all of our eggs in one basket? Storm at this point, by the way, is done. There's a couple of space wizards over here. Good force fields. Very patient. Very patient control. Yep. Okay. Here's the reinforcing units. Second Immortal now joins the fray as well. ByuN backing off, trying to get behind those force fields, trying to get into the perfect spot, but that economical disadvantage he's been on is really starting to hurt right now. Gets surrounded by Stalkers that hug the Marines and Marauders. Medivacs are being picked off. GG is cold. And just like that, it is Zest who obtains the victory.